Hello, everybody. Hi. Thank you for staying so long today. And as we approach the end of the day, I thought, let's go beyond Z. Generation Z, that is. Basically, let's talk about some of the challenges and opportunities we all are facing today as we are trying to connect and be relevant to the young people. So Z, if we go beyond that, remember, born between 95 and 2009. Generation Alpha is the next one. You and I will probably, you more than me, depending on our age, will probably care a lot about over the next years, right? Because Generation Alpha is kids born after 2010. You could say they are a subset of Generation Z. They are always on, they will be connected, they are technology focused, and their expectations will be really very different, both from technology and from businesses. So May 13, just a couple of weeks ago, this is the Chicago Oatbrook Mall, one of the new Microsoft stores in the United States. And it's a funny story because this is a friend of mine who took her son, Henry, to the store, and the first thing Henry did, he jumped on a chair and he went to the laptops and started to touch the screen. And he touched the screen of the first laptop and the second laptop and the Surface, and he's touching. He expects touch everywhere, right? You see these kids everywhere. You see the 5-year-old girl that has never seen a dial phone. Do you remember those dial phones? Do you guys remember the Sony Walkmans? Or do you remember buying an LP? I don't, and I guess none of you in this audience do. So these kids, like the 7-year-old girl who can play video games, or the boy that can play games faster and type faster than you do. So as we really think about this, whether these people connect through a phone, a tablet, or a laptop, they are doing things that are really very different, and it's going to be very significant what's going to change in technology and businesses. Now, as Henry quickly grows up, he will rather adopt virtual pets online rather than having real pets, right? He will get his music online. Who knows if he will pay for it? And major aspects of his life, like social interactions or friendships or civic activities, will be mediated by digital technologies. So the split between what we've heard some speakers before talking digital natives and digital immigrants, which is those that were not born in the technology digital era, is growing wider and wider. And so let's take a look, who is this Generation A or Alpha? First of all, they are raised by X and Y. They are children of older, wealthier parents with fewer siblings, and they are already being labeled as materialistic. So what will that mean for you and I as we are thinking about this new audience? They are totally digitally wired up. They are expecting connectivity on demand. Half of their toys are electric or battery powered, right? So they are expected to work longer and have an average of 5 careers and probably 20 different employers in their lifetimes. That's more than we have today. So these kids are shaped in a world of technology and consumerism, right? So their parents are spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on toys, depending on where they are living, right? And so when you think about what happens in the next years, probably 3D printing will help, because 3D may solve that issue. Being able to print out cheap, relatively sturdy and creative toys will seem like a parental nirvana. However, as we're thinking about this generation, what makes them different, really? And many of the presentations today were talking about what happened over the last 50 to 70 years, right? The market size of the entire broadband internet in 2000 was 50 million people. Today, it is more than 2 billion. In a few short years, due to the mobile development, it will be over 5 billion people. So understanding what drives this challenge and change and what's behind the behavioral and attitudinal differences will be key for understanding and our capability to adapt to what's going to be changing in future. So the invention and the adoption of these new digital technologies by more than 1 billion people really happens very quickly. And this is the most rapid technological advancement ever. Look at how many years it took for 50 million users to basically reach TV and how many it took for Facebook to reach 50 million users, right? So it's a huge development and really new different ways of thinking about kids. It's not like they are really born, they may probably think they are downloaded. So what this all means is that as we think about digital Darwinism and the survival of the fittest, really, you know, it's not just about being healthy. When you think about survival of the fittest, it's not vigor. It's really about fitting in. It's about fitting in within the adapted environments that we are going to live in and to operate. Rather than destroying each other, we need to connect with each other. And in business, this is more important than ever. So how will these platforms change in future? No one knows really today what will happen with digital technologies. I think one of the speakers earlier was talking about this. It's not really something predictable. However, we can ask some of the key questions. Where are we going to go? And how will whatever comes next influence business? And one of the key things, there is a lot more of the speed that will happen when these anthropological and technological changes will create new waves. We will really need to think about human survival. And that really depends, as Martin Seligman says, one of the famous American psychologists, it really depends on collective abilities, our ability to join together with others in pursuing a goal, and not necessarily just an individual as an individual objective, but really the cohesiveness and social resilience of that group really matters. So what does that mean for entrepreneurs and startups? That means, as we have to think about stretching that Rogers curve, such as the uptake of the specific technology happens more rapidly. We have to think about that. Instead of waiting for critical mass, for that 68% majority to happen, we basically need to think about how to transform that late majority into early majority, and that early majority into early adopters, and which innovations could diffuse more rapidly through society, and what are the implications both for children and their parents, you guys sitting in here. So think about Nicholas Carr, the editor-in-chief of Harvard Business Review. He wrote a book that's pretty famous. It's called The Shallows. And he suggests that the internet is rewiring our brains, making us think more superficially, at the expense of deep reading and analysis. And with this heavy use of the internet, one of the key questions we should also think about is, what does it mean for the children's brain? Are they going to be more vulnerable to these pressures, or will generation A or alpha interact more intuitively with technology? And in that thinking, how do you shape your offering to really respond to that neuroscientific, neurological development? So let's take a look at what Generation Alpha expects from technology. In one word, I believe they expect work and play together. So it's really about cohesive, putting these worlds together. It's not about I go to work and then I go home. It's I'm connected, I'm always on. And so they will expect to connect through relevant contextual experiences across multiple digital touch points. And then they will expect and will compete for attention. They want your attention, and they will be in constant connection. In fact, I believe that one of the developments in social networking in future is that they will become a lot more specialized. It's not going to be the social network we know today. It's going to be more multi-platform, multi-dimensional networking based on specific interests. So it's not about broadcasting my message to everyone everywhere, but it's really being relevant in specific areas of interest. And then really, it's not about the advertising seeking the audience. I think this was a key message in many of the presentations today, but it's really about the consumer seeking the advertiser. So the business is starting the story, and the consumer is finishing it. So these are tremendous challenges, I believe, and so I thought I'm showing you a video to take a fun look at the complexity here. And let's see if I can get it. Yep. One more. It is what it is, leading to change. So it all really starts with meeting your audience's expectation. This was an idea of touch. When you think Windows 8, let me pick just one example from the Henry story at the beginning. When Henry goes to the laptops and touches the screen, now we could tell if generation A expects touch, then Microsoft is moving our entire ecosystem to touch. You will see Windows 8, you will see Windows Phone, you will see a lot of new devices. Probably you have followed the news at Computex these days. It's incredible, the amount of innovation and change that is happening as we think to the next developments. One of the fun things I've seen from Computex is called phablets. So it's really the phone and the tablet in one, because people really expect to converge these worlds. So as you know, this will not happen overnight. It takes time. And as you think about the amount of people that are connected today through Windows, 1.5 billion worldwide, really you can see where the world is going. Windows 8 does bring touch to the masses. In fact, I'm using this Asus laptop that is fully enabled with touch. And you think not only that, but Windows 8 really brings touch to all form factors. So you will have the Surface tablet, the laptops, the PCs. There are 5 billion users, 5 billion mobile phones, users of mobile phones in the world, but only 1.5 are smartphones. You see, the opportunity is huge, and touch is going to enable that. That's the expectation. Now, Nokia basically has 1.5 billion mobile phones in the world. Not all of them are touch, but you can see the connection with Windows Phone and why you see Nokia 920 being really so successful, especially in our markets across Central and Eastern Europe. So if we really hope to head towards a bright future in the digital age, then it begins with helping young kids leading the way, starting today. We have to deliver a more targeted, a more connected and personalized experiences across devices to help lead through successful digital worlds. And what are some of the choices to get there? And I believe really if we target Generation A, we should aim to create intelligent digital touchpoints. At least for the next 10, 20 years, that's going to be a key trend. The challenge and the opportunity at the same time is to connect those points. So how do we connect digital touch points to deliver such a seamless and relevant experience based on people's expectations? And we're going to have several barriers to overcome, of course, right brain versus left brain. You know, how do we engage through incredibly emotional? We've seen this also today. It's about emotions. It's about interesting custom solutions, contextual, and at the same time, you need to scale globally. So that's a huge challenge for us as marketers. Should we basically create or optimize for a device or for a mindset? We really need to be careful about getting caught up in the technology so much that we forget about the mindset, that we forget about what people really have, what's their interest, what's in their mind, how do they think. And what works on TV, as we know, may not work on the mobile, may not work on the web. And so what's the relationship between these experiences for that consumer is going to be a really interesting question to ask. Is this a funnel, or is this a purchasing channel? So what's really interesting is how do you address alphas across all these different touch points, and how do you connect these dots? Now, well, the how, right? So we've seen a lot of the how. It's more interesting and more important to look at the how than the what or the when and the why, because how do we succeed also means how do we understand behavior, and how do we understand how this behavior adapts to that change. So of course it's important what people tell us, but it's more important how they think. So not only we have to listen to them carefully, but we also really need to connect with them emotionally, looking at the world from their side. This is all old marketing school still, but trust really, I believe, is a key currency for this, whether it's business or marketing generated or it's consumer generated. If we lose trust, we don't have any chance. And then we have to be patient. Of course, Rome wasn't built overnight, so it will take time to really manage multiple generations. It's not easy. But at the end of the day, what truly matters is less about digital and all the internet and all the future, and so much more about leadership. Leaders really create change. They drive innovation. They always follow the consumer. So how do you know if you succeeded? Well, test it on the young, the old, and the drunk. So you test it on the young and the old because grandparents and children's brains basically have less adaptability to cognitive overhead, so you have to have much more simplicity in order to reach this audience. And if you don't have young and old, well, then drunk people are a good approximation. I actually know startups in San Francisco that take their product developers to bars in San Francisco and Silicon Valley to have them watch people using their products so that they can actually deliver a great experience. So imagine what happens in those bars and those products. So really, as you think about, sorry, I'm going fast now because that's what I've heard I need to do. But as you think about this, let me show you a fun way of thinking deeper about the how and the new generation. No?
Estiverem interessados numa pequena demonstração? Sim. Eu vou então chamar um colega, o professor Pedro.
Posso ajudar? Vamos ajudar? Então, explica lá. Então, a primeira atividade do suite é a password. Depois temos os mosaicos dinâmicos que nos permitem personalizar a nossa página inicial. Se quiseres ter.
A senhora é que faz a demonstração?
Eu é que faço a demonstração.
Memória que é preciso para correr este novo Windows?
Espera aí que eu vou chamar a minha colega que ela responde essa pergunta.
Boa tarde, isso é a demonstração.
So this was a video that was created in Microsoft Portugal locally, and it went viral. It was used in retail shops. I think we're going to use it in our Central Eastern European markets because it's just funny. So what's really exciting now is what happens after Darwin. How will Generation Alpha change the face of how we live? Clearly, they will shape it in ways we cannot even imagine. And your son or daughter will probably know things you don't even know you don't know. You can't even imagine the things they will be doing. We must know things today that our parents don't know. And we must learn things that we may not want to. But we must understand that digital Darwinism is the evolution of behavior when society and technology actually evolve faster than our adaptability and ability to adapt. So like it or not, we must enthusiastically join in these waves. We must join in with the new generation, build a bridge into the next generation, and basically be good ancestors. Or we will be left behind in a world of familiar things, and I don't want that. So my point really today is we need to push ourselves past the point we are today. Be serious and disciplined about the why, the when, and the how, and really think about what people need to know. Be curious how they are going to respond to what we're doing. How are they interested to connect with each other? And remember, in the end, it's human nature. We are alike and we are different. And with that, thank you so much.
Thank you.